Anita McKeag with the Planning Department, and we are here tonight to talk about East Trinity Lane and Ambrose. And so, let's see, bear with me while I bring up my PowerPoint here. Okay, so can everyone see my screen? I hope so. Yep. Corey, can you see my screen? Okay, great.
Yep.
There we go. For some reason, it's not wanting to go into screen mode. There we go. Okay. So East Trinity Lane, Ambrose. I think most people are familiar with at least part of the location we're talking about. So tonight we've got from the Planning Department, myself, I'm Anita McKeag and Corey Clark. And then we have several members of the applicant team. You have, in case you have called in, you're in listen only mode. So if you want to actually see the presentation, see any slides and things, go to nashville.gov, the planning department, and you can join. Audio's muted. You can ask us questions though anytime, and we will leave ample time for Q&A. And so the meeting is also being recorded and posted to YouTube. So if you've got folks that aren't available to listen tonight, they can listen tomorrow at a later time. A lot of you may be familiar already with WebEx and answering questions, but you know, you've got your virtual hand. Usually it's at the bottom of the screen. And there's also the Q&A. And as I said, you can type it in at any time. Please send it to all panelists, not just one of us. That way we've got several people paying attention. So briefly, I'm going to talk a little bit about the background purpose of this meeting and why we're here. And then the applicant is the team's going to talk a little bit about what they want to do. So someone has applied to change the land use policy on properties at East Trinity Lane and Ambrose. So we're going to talk a little bit about the process, but most of this meeting is to hear from you, hear from the community, gather your feedback. It's very early in the planning process and the review process. That's why we always like to have community meetings to hear from folks. And one of the main jobs that we work at my department is we make recommendations to our planning commissioners about land use policy changes and zone changes. So I think a lot of you are familiar with some of the areas, especially if you've got a notice, but you know, here we have East Trinity Lane and we've got Ellington Parkway. And now the applicant team's property is all on this side of Ellington Parkway. But when we're talking about land use policy, we usually consider a larger area because there'll be adjacent properties that have some similar characteristics. So that's why we picked up this area on the other side of Ellington. I'll talk more about that in a minute. So a little bit of background. We've got Nashville Next, the comprehensive plan that guides the big picture vision for the city. But since the 1990s, we've been working on community plans, which takes that big picture vision and applies it to on the ground to properties across the city, neighborhoods, corridors. There's 14 community plans, and tonight we're working in the East Nashville Community Plan. We use land use policies, sometimes you'll hear them referred to as community character policies, to provide direction when somebody wants to change the zoning for a property, to help prioritize capital improvement budget projects, but help shape the form and character of a community. One of the ways that we do organize how the city is structured is through something we call the transect. It ranges from all the way from very natural open spaces like Bells Bend Park or Beeman Park, Percy Warner, all the way to the intensity of downtown. And in between there, you've got rural, suburban areas, urban areas like this part of East Nashville. Also got center areas like Midtown. And why then are policies so important? As I mentioned, they help guide our recommendations on zone change requests when someone comes in and wants to know what to do with their property. You know, someone comes in and says they've got an idea for a coffee shop on the corner. The first thing our planners are going to do is look up that property and what the existing zoning is. If it's consistent with that, they go start working with the codes department. If it's not consistent, then they're going to look at the community plan and see what that land use policy is. And if it's consistent, you know, someone can apply for a zone change. Doesn't mean it's automatic yes, but they can apply and go through the process. But when the land use policy is not consistent, then we talk about should the land use policy be changed or not, and that's where we involve the community. So as I briefly mentioned, land use policy, it's guidance, it's that vision for an area. Even if land use policy changes, it doesn't automatically change zoning for a property. Zoning is a separate process. That's why you often see these taken together, though. You've got somebody that wants to change the land use policy, so they submitted a zoning change to go along with that. In this case, they're going to they want to change from employment center policy to mixed use, and they want to change the zoning from an industrial to one that's more of a mixed use. So the existing policy, here's where you can see the applicant's properties, what properties they're representing here with this blue line within the dash line. And then you can see our study area. Right now, this policy is called District Employment Center. And what that means is basically it's an area concentration of jobs with other uses, but it's heavy on jobs. So offices, commercial, think like Metro Center when it's built out, you know, campus-like environments, oftentimes Metro Center. So around this area, though, like you see here to the south is this color, right here, this color, that is called urban mixed-use neighborhood. And so that policy category is, it's just what it says, it's a mix of uses, but it tends to be a little heavier on residential uses, and then other uses come in. So you see the scale's a little different with employment center heavy on jobs, this one heavier on residential. And so with the applicant's proposal, they very much have a development that's anchored by residential. And so it didn't fit as well within employment center policy. So you all want to talk a little bit about what you'd like to do?
Sure. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, cool. Well, thank you, Nita. Appreciate the introduction and the overview of all of that. For those on this call that don't know me, hello, my name is Ben Ozzie. I'm the Senior Director of Operations and Development for ZMX. Thanks for taking the time to attend the call and learn a little bit more about what it is we're planning to do with these parcels. A little bit about our organization. ZMX is a full service development and general contracting group. We were founded in 2012 and we're located in East Nashville. And our focus is specifically in the urban core, specifically East Nashville. Most of our past projects have been multifamily and mixed use developments. Recently, we completed 2 projects in particular that were a little, I guess, were kind of an inspiration for what we wanted to do with this set of parcels. One of them was 1041 Flats, located at 1041 East Trinity Lane. The other was the Edison development, which is, I guess, a set of parcels right next door to the Checkers on Gallatin and East Trinity. Both projects went well, and the reason that they went well is because they created entry-level ownership opportunities for residents and businesses. And our objective with these 4 parcels in particular is to continue creating entry-level residential opportunities that also have commercial spaces with a mixture of tenants that can be enjoyed by both future residents in our buildings, along with the neighboring parcels and neighborhood in general. And again, today, we're just going to talk through roughly what we're looking to do. This isn't the rezone process, so we haven't gone too far down the rabbit hole with design, but we want to be transparent about what it is we're looking to do. So we do have a basic site plan that shows roughly how things are laid out. And then from there, I'm going to turn it over to Gina and Manuel to walk through some inspiration images that we have been working with her on to sort of show people what this development may ultimately look like once it's completed. So from there, I'm going to see if I can figure out how to share my screen with this WebEx stuff. Let's see.
I just shared with Gina. There you go. Gina,
there we go.
She's okay. Got it. Yep. Passed it to you. Yep.
All right.
Yeah, but it's usually, there you go. Yeah.
All right. Success. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yes, you might need to zoom in a little bit.
Excellent. Okay, let's see if I can do that on here. I get a zoom.
It's okay. I think you can talk about it. Yeah. Thing? I think you can talk about it, Ben.
Okay. Yeah, I'll talk through it, and yeah, maybe Gina or Michael, if you guys have the ability to show this better than me.
I think each individual person can also zoom into it as well. If you look on the left-hand side of your screen, I think you as an individual can zoom into it.
Got it. Okay. Well, cool. Well, yeah, I'll do the best to try and walk through this. So far, here's what we've come up with. The set of parcels is right up against Ellington Parkway, along with 2 parcels that front Ambrose Avenue. We're looking at the development with 4 buildings total. Building 1 right here on the corner of Ellington and East Trinity Lane. That's about a 7,500 square foot building that has 2 stories of commercial space. And our goal is we're going to have the front of that building having a pretty big impact on, from a visual aesthetic on this corner, which so far hasn't had much to look at over the years, especially with how industrial this particular area is. Behind that and right up against Ellington Parkway, these are the largest buildings on the project, obviously. It's 2 buildings. Each one of them will have about 75 units of residential. And then the 4th building down here on Ambrose is a small mixed-use building that's about 13,000 square feet, with the ground level being 4,500 square feet of office, retail, restaurant. We haven't fully decided on what the use is going to be for that ground level. And then above that, we'll have a handful of residential units as well. Some other things that we're looking to do is obviously everything's going to be surface parked. We didn't feel that garage parking would be a great fit for this area. We also are looking to improve the alleyway that you can see behind the parcels that front East Trinity Lane. And that's going to allow people to access the commercial building up here on the corner without having too much ingress and egress right up against an already busy intersection. And then what we're going to do for the residential side of things is try and drive traffic down Ambrose Avenue to enter the backside of the site. And that way, we'll be able to keep the primary access point for residents off of North Hill Drive, which kind of goes around the backside of the corner. We have other things we're looking to do is improve general infrastructure, obviously update things with stormwater, sidewalks, things like that. But at this point, I think it'd probably be best to turn it over to Gina to maybe have her walk through conceptually what we're looking at for inspiration on each one of these buildings.
Anita, I don't know if I can do a quick share also.
Sade, can you give Gina the
Oh, do I have to do this?
privilege? Yes, I was trying to drag it from your name, but it wouldn't let me.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go. You'll be a WebEx pro by the end.
I know, no kidding.
You guys see that?
Yes.
Okay. So, like Ben said, it's pretty early and we're just really working through some of the design things right now. But I think what we wanted to show was just a general idea and feelings around the site of what we wanted to include. So this first slide you can see says exterior spaces. So there's some green area in here. There is sort of parking around these buildings, and we have a few spots where we thought we could do something like these images. And everywhere we had the residential buildings, like these 2 sort of slides on the back, we want to have stoops and porches and a nicely landscaped entryway. And so these are just really images showing about how we want to do that with the sidewalk, the entries into units, how we want to work with balconies, and really sort of make that kind of a really nice facade on all the spots where we have the residential. There in the plan that Ben showed you, there's a section in the middle where we do have a little bit more green space. And while that's an early plan, we hope to retain as much green space as we can on the plan. And so just sort of working in things like a community bench, maybe a dog park, things like that, that might be complementary to all the uses on the site. And this one's a little bit of texture. Whenever we have surface parking, we like to break up the texture a little bit on the surfaces around that parking. And this is really what this is showing. So where we can work this into walkways, just so that it's not, concrete and asphalt everywhere, just so how do you break that patterning up? So that's really what that's showing. And these ones are for the multifamily, showing what these buildings could potentially look like. And it's not necessarily look just like this, but there are certain things about each of these buildings that we like. This is kind of an industrial area. And so, what we kind of liked about this building here is if you think of old industrial buildings, a lot of times they'll have sort of this painted stripe or painted signage or something of that nature on the building. And, we kind of like the idea of doing that in a more, current twist to it. And so that's kind of what this one is showing, but really kind of trying to keep the buildings as simple as possible. This last one, the reason we like this one is, our buildings would not be this height, but we liked what the bottom floor was doing. The bottom floor is pretty glassy. You can kind of see what's going on in there, and that separates itself a little bit from the top floor. And so, the glassy bottom we liked too, because that could be something a little more active at the bottom level, kind of like the same thing we were talking about with those stoops and porches. So just something to create a little interaction and activity. And then some of these things we like the shapes of these buildings and sort of how we had different materials with these balconies and that building itself. So that's mostly what they're showing. And this last one, up on Trinity, that's a commercial area. We have a small area up there, but we still want it to be impactful for what we do have. And so we thought, these were some really nice images showing, look, these are simple but really impactful, storefronts that we felt would fit in the area. So whatever the use is up there, whether it's someone's office, whether it's coffee, whether it's multiple different uses, we felt like these would fit. So it could be retail. You could do something really nice with the signage. This one is showing it could be potentially a pop of color. These canopies and overhangs, and again back to the glass base that we talked about. There's a couple small spots where we thought we could fit in a small outdoor green space, and I think wherever we can do that, we're going to do that. And so this is kind of an example. And then another thing that we would probably do throughout as much as we can is just sort of look at painted window signage and sort of simple touches like that that will really sort of give it a commercial feel, throughout the bottom floors of the buildings. So that is what we've got for that. So I'm happy to answer any questions. And I know, I don't know if Michael wanted to share anything or just really talk through some of the other things on the site.
And I think Ben covered it very well, gave a nice summary of the site plan. And again, just stressing that it's very preliminary at this point, and a lot of design to happen, as both of you had said. So maybe it's a good time to answer any questions that people have.
Yeah, absolutely. Has anyone written in any questions? I'm not seeing any hands up. Have we got the quietest group ever of attendees? Let's see, we've got, I think, 5. We've got 5 attendees. Yep, no Q&A or hands, okay.
Maybe you all just answered everything so clearly, they don't have any questions.
I know. See, we went over things so quickly. That's why everybody always has questions. I do. Remind me, how tall are the residential buildings? Are they 3 stories?
I think we have 3 or 4 story right now. I need to go back and double check to see the height. It would not be.
I know you're saying preliminary, but yeah, just. Okay. Okay, so I'm still not seeing people. Yeah, I'm still not seeing people raise hands or type in anything, right? Am I missing anything? So I definitely should let you all go at 5:30. I should have flipped these 2 meetings. Yeah.
Seems a little less painful, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, we tease ourselves. You never know. We're always asked so many questions about how many people you expect, and and yeah, you never know.
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to give it one more go with we've got what, Bruce, John, Matt, Richard, Rob. Any comments, questions? Okay, still not seeing anything, right? Am I missing anything, Corey, Sharday? Am I missing?
No.
Okay. Nope. Okay, I'm getting 2 no's. Okay, so for those of you attending, if you think of anything, please reach out. Corey, you want to give them your email address?
Sure. My email address is corey.clark at nashville.gov. Corey spelled CORY, CLARK at nashville.gov.
Wonderful. And panelists, anything else you wanted to say? Do you think of anything you wanted to mention about your project before we let folks go early?
I don't think so at this time. And certainly if anybody has any questions for us, feel free to reach out. And yeah, I guess we'll go from here.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks, everyone. Big thanks to ITS, as always, for assisting us. Take care, everybody. Good
Thanks,
night.
Nita.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Night.
Bye.
Bye.